Well, hello, loves. Happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty. Oh my goodness. So these are a few of the supplies that I'll be using, or all of the supplies I'll be using today, and stencils I'll be using today, and those are going to be on sale. So I am starting out this cutie patootie on an 8x10 MDF board, and I am putting down my vintage papers, which is a couple of maps, and I'm going to have a map and the window that we use in today's project in the resource library for free, and then also in the resource library will be a coupon for this collage pack. And the stencils will already be marked down. Those three stencils will be marked down. The link to all the products, blog post, subscriber library, all that stuff will be down below in the YouTube description box. So I put all my papers down with my matte medium, and this window here is going to be again free in the resource library. And I just absolutely love how this piece turned out. So I'm laying down some gesso, and really to just kind of push things back in that area where the door is going to be. And I took a risk today. So on the stencil, I should say, the door was a little large for what in comparison to the window. So I cut it down a little bit, and I didn't use the whole thing. And so I just taped off where I wanted the door to stop. And so now I'm using my archival ink in potting soil. And I took a risk because I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but I just decided to go for it. And I am in love with how this turned out. Yeah, the depth, the shading, it just is fantastic. And then I add more to it later on, but this was just perfect. I'm using those makeup brushes that I found and have begun to love, and it's just fantastic. So now I'm just going to begin to build up the layers, and all I'm using is gesso today, my friends. It's so easy. So I brushed it out with my brush and then just kind of scraped it away with my palette knife, and it gives it that plaster old wall feel, and it's just fantastic. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how happy I am with this project. So I'm just going to continue to brush that gesso out and then pull it back with my palette knife. And I just love love the texture that it provides. Now I'm making sure to keep the two spaces separate, the street and the wall. And I'm just basically using my palette knife as a line guide to keep those two separate and to keep really a distinct line between the two. And I'm brushing this out a little bit more than the top because I want it to be a little bit smoother, because I'm coming back in with my Bricks and Bubbles stencil, and I'm just using gesso. It's so simple. This is DecoArt Media Gesso, and I didn't use any modeling paste or anything. I just wanted it to be subtle texture because I wanted to be able to get in there and get some good glaze and paint going. So it turned out just perfect. So my underlayer here is medium gray in a fluid acrylic by DecoArt and some Americana glazing medium, and I'm just pulling this back. Now you saw a random hand in the picture there. I'm actually instructing, as I'm doing this, I'm instructing my assistant on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and she forgot, we both forgot that we were filming, so yeah, she stuck her hand in there, and I said, I'm going to leave that. And anyway, so I'm kind of showing her how I do the process. So I'm just, again, I took my medium gray and glazing medium, and now I'm coming back in, and I'm using my raw umber and glazing medium. And I didn't wait for anything to dry. I didn't rinse my brush. I'm letting that gray and that raw umber kind of mix together and kind of do its magic. And so that gray kind of dulls down that brown a little bit, which is compatible with the archival ink, because it kind of has a sooty gray kind of feel too. And so as I use the glazing medium, It really allows it to get into all of the grooves of the gesso, that the texture that the gesso has created. And I'm working to create shadow in areas that you would naturally see shadow. So around the doors, around the window, you think about an old wall where there might be water, or water dripping from the roof or the flower box or different things like that, or where it might settle. And I'm just focusing on those areas and trying to make sure that I get some good shadow in those areas around the window, dripping down from the flower box, down by the street. So on the bottom here, I'm using transparent iron oxide and red iron oxide. I'm not exactly sure. Again, the products will be listed on the blog. And these are fluid acrylics, and I'm using glazing medium with them. And I'm making sure to keep those areas where the wall meets and all of those connecting parts a little bit darker. Now I'm adding some of that red to the back because that's what you would actually see on a wall that's kind of aging. And now I'm adding some cobalt teal, and I mixed it in with my red iron oxide or quinacridone gold, and I didn't like the color, so I wiped that off and then just mixed it in with some raw umber to dirty it up. And I love that look. So now I'm coming in and I'm going to fill in the detail of my flower box. And I cut it straight because I knew I would add to it and just extend that out, and it was easier to put down that way. But I'm going right back over the flowers that are already there in the picture and then just bringing them down. And I'm using avocado and an Americana craft paint, and then I'll use quinacridone magenta, quinacridone red, and some gesso, and kind of mix those colors together and just fill out that flower box and extend it. And I'm just doing dots with my little tiny paintbrush, little tiny dots here and there to give the illusion of those flowers. So now I'm going to, I've got a piece of tissue paper taped down to a piece of copy paper, and I'm using that same potting soil archival ink and my brush to get the shape of my bicycle. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because there is texture on that piece, and if I try to stencil onto that piece, I won't get a clean stencil. And so this is just a super easy way to get my outline, to use my stencil as my guide, and be able to use that pattern and then fill it in and paint it in. So I'm just coming back now with regular cobalt teal, mixed in with a little bit of raw umber to kind of dirty it up again, and I'm just coloring it in. I'm filling in the spaces, and I'll do that with the body, with the wheels, and with the basket. On the basket I used raw umber and yellow iron oxide and a tiny bit of that quinacridone gold. And now I'm coming back in with that avocado and a little bit of quinacridone magenta and quinacridone gold, and making some flowers that are just looking like they're hanging it over the basket. Super easy, just long strokes and then just short strokes for the flowers to kind of resemble tulips. So now I'm coming back in with that same archival ink, and I'm trying to blend in the door to kind of match the background, and bringing that color out to the edges all the way around to further evenly distribute that color so that it blends in, so that it becomes part of the other parts and not just this separate piece. And so now I begin the shading process. And I did a lot of shading on this piece, so it takes some time. But I'm going around the flowers and the bicycle fairly lightly, but then I really create the depth and unity that the piece needs around the door by really working in my shading. And I just begin really darkening that up and bringing all of that shading out into the piece and into the wall. I start to create some cracks. I bring my charcoal pencil up and into the wall and out to really bring that piece together and make it cohesive. I will shade the streets, the street lines, bicycle, all of those pieces to really bring some depth and dimension. And that's about it, my friends. I'm going to shade around the outside with my soft pastel. And I just positively love how she turned out. If you like today's project, please subscribe and like. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And stick around, for the message is so important. I use my mama bear voice in this message. So thank you, my friends. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you next week. There she is, lovies. How stinking cute is this? I am just so thrilled with how this turned out. I am just, oh, the grungy goodness in the background just makes my grungy heart happy. Oh my gosh, I just love it. So, quickly, just to recap, and I went over everything in the video, but this window is actually going to be in the resource library for free, and one of the maps is will be for free, and then I'll have a link to the collage pack that has maps if you want to get the collage pack, and there'll be a coupon for that collage pack. And then also I'm going to offer, since I haven't used these in such a long time, I'm going to offer up the door and the bicycle and the bricks and bubble stencil at 20% off. So those three, and they'll already be marked down in the shop. So if you want to get those, you can get those. And then you can get to creating. So much fun. I just absolutely love this. So, excuse me. This says, the only impossible journey is the one you never begin. And I have ruminated over this quote because it's been a couple weeks now, and I've just been kind of pondering this whole these questions. So I got a couple of emails over the last couple of weeks, and I've responded to the emails from my friends who comment and all of that. And I thank you so much. I just so love your emails and your questions and all of that good stuff. I love it all. But a couple of the emails had questions about beginning the journey. They have a dream, they have a desire, they have a small seed of where they see their life and where they want to go, and they're scared, and they are afraid, and they feel like nothing's ever changing, and it's they're just never going to get there. And I 100% get it. I understand it. I have been there. I have done that. I know the feeling, and I know the frustration, and I know the battles that we fight every single day to really work towards our goals and our dreams, and to make change, make lasting change. And that's what this is really about, change. And I said to them, and I as I thought about this, I thought, gosh, they cannot be the only ones who have this question or feel this way. And I just want to say to you, as my mama bear, with my mama bear voice, that the only way that you will ever make change happen, you will ever make the journey happen, or your dreams, or whatever it is that you are wanting to do, whether it's weight loss or relationships, or I'm telling you, anything. The only way to make it happen and to make change happen is to do something different. I'm going to say it again. You have to do something different. And in my emails, I had some conversation about, so what are you doing to make this happen? And oftentimes when I ask that question, there's a pause because they haven't done anything different. And you know that old phrase, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the deal. The journey will be impossible unless you begin. You have to begin somewhere. And I'm telling you, too often we overthink it. We overthink our steps. We are afraid. And I get it. It's scary to take the steps on our journey towards whatever it is we are working towards. But you have to take you have to do something. Journey can be used as a verb, and I wrote it down. So let's see, where did I put it? Oh shoot, I printed it out. Here it is. Okay. So journey says traveling from one place to another. It usually takes a long time. It is a trip. It's a distance. It's a course. Sometimes you travel in the desert, it said in this one definition. I'm like, heck yeah, sometimes it feels like that when we are trying to make change. When we're starting on our journey, sometimes it feels like I'm doing this, hello, and nothing's happening. But as soon as you're in that place, things will begin to happen. So I want to tell you today, if you are feeling discouraged about your journey, ask yourself what you're doing differently. Not the same, but what you're doing differently to make things happen. You have to do something different. You have to begin somewhere, and it doesn't have to be pretty, and it doesn't have to look good, and you might fall on your face. I cannot tell you how many times I have stepped out to do something, and the result was not good. But I did it anyway. And what happens is you learn. You learn from that. You get those courage muscles that you need to get back up and take another step. and I've fallen flat. And I still have so much to learn, but I just continue to step out in faith and learn my skills, take new classes, discover new things, whatever it is that you're trying to do. When I look at my videos from 6 years ago, it's embarrassing. It's seriously embarrassing. But you have to start somewhere, and you can't expect to be perfect right away. If I'm on my weight loss journey, I can't expect to take one class and have lost 50 pounds. That just is silly. And we have to have some grace in our journey to know that it's a journey. It's going to take some time. It's a trip. And that's why we have to enjoy the process, enjoy our journey, trust it, and take some action. So, my loves, what are you doing today differently to take steps towards your journey so that it won't be impossible? The only impossible journey is the one you never begin, because if you begin it, small steps, it will happen one after, and it won't be tomorrow, it might be years down the road, but you have to take a step. Okay, that was my mama bear voice, and now I'm just going to go back to saying I love you, and I am so thankful that you are here. And I hope today that you take a moment to realize your journey, what you're doing to make it happen, and that you are taking one single step to make your dreams happen. All right, loves, have a wonderful Sunday, and always, always know that you are loved.